Welcome to another episode of Distory with Kate and Kirk. My name is Kirk from Walrus Carp, and today we are going over to Paris to discover Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the Disneyland Paris edition, or the Euro Disney edition, because that's really when it was designed. I love this one because it has, I think, a much deeper backstory, which we kind of touched on in the Phantom Manor section of our Haunted Mansion series. But I love just rereading this. And I was saying to Kate before, I would love to see a live action that would incorporate some of these stories because they're really great. But with me, as always, is the well-researched, the amazing author, and the unbelievably profound Kate the Disney Cicerone. Kate, how are we doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Profound. I think that's the first time anybody's ever called me that, but I'll take it. That sounds
well,
great.
You know, it's lost and profound.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited because this is the best version of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, designed to be the best one. So there's no way we could possibly finish this series with anything but Disneyland Paris, or Euro Disney, as you could call it. So tonight...
Thank you, Eisner, for the best version of Big Thunder Mountain.
It almost bankrupted the whole company.
But they didn't go under. Almost isn't under. So did Walt Disney multiple times.
Almost isn't under. Fair. You do have me there. Okay. So I have a few things to kind of just say before we totally dive in. We're going to mostly talk about Frontierland there, what it looks like in Disneyland Paris, kind of how it's laid out, because it's so integral to Big Thunder itself. We really can't just ignore the land that it's in. But
just go on the ride, Kate. We don't have time for this like backstory nonsense.
Have you not been to Distory before?
I don't know.
I don't know
if you've been to Distory before, because last time we did this in Shanghai, you were like, "Oh, we'll get in the queue tonight." I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah,
okay.
I know. I almost made that mistake this time, and then I
know,
no.
Dude. You every time it's the same thing.
I'm terrible at estimating how much time things take. So. This one, if we remember, Tony Baxter called all the different Big Thunders by different names. You know, like Disneyland was charming and Disney World was spectacular. His word for this one is beautiful, which is really the word for all of Disneyland Paris in general. It was designed to be a beautiful park because it's located in Europe, where everything is beautiful there. You know, all this old world beauty, these cathedrals, these castles, you know, so that it had to stand on its own alongside all the things that you would normally see in Europe. That was what Michael Eisner wanted for this park, which opened in 1992. But the quote I have from Tony Baxter is that this is the crown jewel of all Big Thunders in the world, adding a lot of new surprises and fun to what is already a classic ride in other parks. And Eddie Soto, who does some voice work, he was an Imagineer, but he also did some voice work for this version of Big Thunder. He said, one of the neat things about doing something 4 times, like we have with Big Thunder, is each time you do it, you can take a look at what it is we could actually make better and what we could improve in terms of making a more fun show. So that's just to kind of set us up of where we're going here, is like their mindset going into this is like, we're going to make this the crown jewel, the best it can be. You know, this is it. The magnum opus, if you will.
I mean, I think they really nailed it with the Euro Disneyland opening day park map. I mean, it really shows the details of Big Thunder now.
It really doesn't.
No. It's just sad. A big old blob.
They're like, let's go minimal in a park that's like highly detailed.
Right, exactly.
Crazy. So shall we head to Frontierland first there, Kirk? Do you want to... I have some quotes from Tony Baxter and whatnot, but I don't know where you want to start here.
Why don't you give us some quotes about Tony? I have a bunch of backstory and history of it, but I don't know what you want to show first.
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff too. Well, I have a quote from Tony about this land. He said, "We knew that going in that Europeans have a contempt for the American West, primarily the Grand Canyon and the Native American culture." So that was something they realized that even Parisians, you know, people in France really appreciated, was that part of American culture. And Eddie Soto called this the John Wayne Frontierland. So that was the theme of this. They also considered calling it Western Land because of the film references, which we've seen, you know, in a different Big Thunder, right, area. But of course, instead they went with Thunder Mesa, which is a nod to Mark Davis's Lost concept. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you have there? And I have a bunch of movies that inspired it, but
yeah, well, you can talk about the movies if you want. I actually found this is a souvenir map that came from opening year, so this is 1992, and it does say specifically on there Euro Disneyland with Mickey giving the north, south, east, west, or an O. I don't know what's up with that. Is that like a European thing with a compass? It must be something.
It's west is spelled with it's O spelled with an O for French. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the rest of them. It's funny, right? Because you have English for all of the different lands, and then the rest of the map, even the key over on the bottom left, is all written in French. So that makes sense.
So I have some of the movies that inspired this, and there's actually quite a few of them. One of them was The Rivers of the Far West, which we're looking at here on the map. So instead of Rivers of America, we have Rivers of the Far West. So that the river has a different name. That was Davy Crockett inspired that. The facades of Thunder Mesa. So this would be like the building fronts were all, which we'll talk about the buildings in a little bit, but the building fronts were all inspired by the movie Tombstone and Silverado. I have this great movie poster for Tombstone. Check that out. This is The Town Too Tough to Die.
What do you want on your tombstone? I don't know, an interesting mustache?
I want those feathers she's wearing. And also Silverado was another one. I'll come back. I'm going to circle back around to Tombstone, but the Lucky Nugget Saloon. Do you remember you asked me that in the previous series? You're like, where did that come from? Right? Because that was also in the Hong Kong when we visited Hong Kong. They had the Lucky Nugget. Well, that's actually from a Walt Disney movie called The Adventures of Bullwhip Griffin.
Poor Bullwhip is getting punched in the head.
It's a 1967 film, so that's where the Lucky Nugget Saloon comes from, and that's why they used it.
That's how people used to punch. They would never use their elbows, always straight arm.
Is that more effective? I'm not sure.
It's not. Don't do that.
The Cottonwood Creek Ranch, which we'll also talk about in a minute, was from The Shootist, is a John Wayne movie from 1976, which looks like this. I love the titles of these on these movie posters. He says he's got to face a gunfight once more to live up to his legend once more to win just one more time.
I think he's got to do it again or once more.
Or once more. And then Silverado was 1985, and then so Tombstone, I did want to touch on Tombstone because I need to go on just a tiny little rabbit trail, Kirk, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Okay. So Tombstone is, of course, in Tombstone, Arizona. I've actually been here when I was a kid. This is where you would find Boot Hill, which is also in Disneyland Paris, right? We talked about that in our Phantom Manor series. And then they have other things like the OK Corral and whatnot. Well, when I ran into the OK Corral, Kirk, I ran into some interesting facts about the origins of the word okay.
All right, now I need to know.
So the phrase okay, which is used to name this historic OK Corral, had its origins in the Pennsylvania Dutch country of New York State in the mid-1800s. So it's Pennsylvania Dutch, originally spelled with periods. O period.
Isn't that weird that it's Pennsylvania Dutch, but they're in New York?
Yeah, well, I think that started in Pennsylvania, right?
Dude, I'll tell you, as somebody who grew up just outside of Philadelphia, New Jersey, I would go out to Lancaster all the time, and Lancaster is like the home of Pennsylvania Dutch, Amish. It's amazing out there. Some of the best smorgasbord buffets if you're a glutton like me. Oh, but anyway, yeah. So I mean, we even have here in Florida, there's a bunch of Pennsylvania Dutch. So yeah, they just moved up to New York, I'm assuming.
So they go to Florida for vacation.
They work here, dude. They have.
Well, some of them live there, but they also go there for vacation.
Well, I mean, everyone comes here for vacation. This place is great.
Okay, so originally spelled with periods, the term outlived most similar abbreviations of the era, owing to its use in President Martin Van Buren's 1839 campaign for re-election. So during this presidential campaign, the candidate was supported by a political club in his hometown of Old Kinderhook, originally called the Ol Correct Club. So, okay, Ol Correct. The name was later changed to Old Kinderhook and then shortened to OK. Van Buren was an OK Club member, and his supporters used the term as a general descriptive term for their candidate who saw it as above average or outstanding. The abbreviation proved eminently suitable for political slogans and campaign pins, although Van Buren lost the election. He wasn't all that. He was just okay.
He wasn't good. He was just okay.
During the 1830s, there was a fashion in Boston newspapers that was it was a funny fashion to reduce phrase to initials and supply an explanation in parentheses. Sometimes the abbreviations were deliberately misspelled to add to the humor. Opposition newspapers used OK in March 1839 as an abbreviation for all correct. The joke being that neither O nor the K was correct. So it became kind of a joke to use it. The term kind of disappeared from popular use until after the Civil War, and then it came back into general use. It was chosen by John Montgomery to describe his OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona. And now we use OK all the time. So
what about OBKB? Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Did
what
that
is
come
that?
From I think that was the Ohio version of the Pennsylvania Dutch.
Yeah, so that's what I have for the movies part of it. And then I also have what inspired this land. And then I also have some parts of the world and whatnot. So where do you want to go from here?
I feel like we have to do just general behind the scenes of like Thunder Mesa itself, just like really quick. I know we already did it, but I feel like
you want to do the backstory of Thunder Mesa, and we can talk about what inspired the different parts of it. That sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Thunder Mesa was founded in the mid-19th century during the American Gold Rush. So Henry Ravenswood, a wealthy, ambitious prospector who is the person who we know from our Haunted Mansion series from the Phantom Manor, he's discovers a rich vein of gold within the Big Thunder Mountain, which he believed was a
gold. Sorry.
Which was a gift from the mountain spirits. This discovery led to the establishment of the Big Thunder Mining Company and the rapid growth of the town of Thunder Mesa, which is where we are going when we're in Frontierland. So, of course, he was a ruthless businessman who spared no expense in extracting all of the mountain's resources and eventually built a grand mansion high up on a hill known as Ravenswood Manor, which eventually turns into the Phantom Manor after his passing. It overlooks the town as a symbol of his success and his power, and his wealth and influence were pivotal in transforming Thunder Mesa from a small settlement into a bustling mining town. Now, despite all the prosperity that was brought along with the mining operations, the Native American tribes or indigenous tribes of the areas warned that Big Thunder Mountain was sacred and that disturbing it would bring a terrible curse. Henry Ravenswood obviously dismissed these warnings and continues to relentlessly extract the gold. According to the legend crafted by the Disney Imagineers, the mountain spirits were angered by the new mining activities, and a series of disasters struck Thunder Mesa. These calamities included earthquakes, flash floods, and mysterious accidents in the mines, making people believe that it was cursed, until the big event, which is the earthquake of 1860, which devastated and severely damaged most of the mining operations in the town itself, and it was forced to stop the Big Thunder Mining Company's operations, and many miners and residents fled the area as a result. And it ended up creating, what was the name of that, like Phantom Canyon? What's the name of the
Phantom Canyon? Yeah.
Phantom Canyon, which is like the rift that splits open from the earthquake.
Which is in the bottom level of the Phantom Manor, like the graveyard scene in our Haunted Mansion in the U.S. If you're not,
it's a much better. It's the best version of Haunted Mansion, much like Big Thunder is the best version of Big Thunder.
Yeah,
Paris really has the best of both.
It really does. It's great. Well, I have some backstory about the backstory, actually.
Let's do it. Let's go back in time.
So I have a lot of really wonderful information from Pat Burke, who was the lead set designer for virtually all of these Big Thunders, really. So he said, in 1977, I asked Big Thunder Mountain concept designer Tony Baxter if I could come up with some actual lore for the mountain for research. As I had grown up around the silver and gold mines in the Mojave Desert in California, remember that's where all those rocks came from that are in the queue of the U.S. Big Thunders. He said, fine, go ahead. The Thunder... Fine, go ahead. So...
Okay.
So there is actually a Thunderbird that's on rocks in Big Thunder. So there's like sketched onto the rocks there. He said, fine, go ahead. The Thunderbird god was found in an actual research book on Indian legends. When the miners invaded the Indians' sacred mountain and removed its wealth, the Thunderbird god would clap its wings and cause the mountain to shake, causing mine cave-ins in Lift 3. The Indians would board over the miner's shaft and cover it with mud and brush as if they had never been there. A lot of vertical shafts got this treatment, and bikers 100 years later fell to their death from the weight of the bikes on the old covered boards. I saw one of those bikes after a 40-foot drop. So it's after a real legend, which is pretty neat. That's pretty much it for that. And then I also have a quote from Henry Ravenswood himself, which is, of course, the founder of Thunder Mesa. He said, "From the first nugget discovered in its heart to the booming economy that Big Thunder Mountain ensures for the town of Thunder Mesa, we at Big Thunder Mountain Company are forever grateful for nature's wonders."
You know, it kind of reminds me, like, when you look back at a Henry Ravenswood type character, you think of all of the old titans of resources, oil, train, mining, all of these things, who garnered large swaths of wealth early on in the 1800s of America's. Like it's rooted in real history.
Right. So yeah, it's really interesting how much research they did for this to really kind of nail that concept. And, you know, segueing into this, you know, they did do a lot. It's like time traveling through the American Southwest. That's really what they wanted you to get from going to Thunder Mesa. Beginning in 1820, when Fort Comstock was built, which is named after a silver mine in Virginia City, Nevada, through the late 19th century around Cottonwood Creek Ranch, which is named after a tree species, of course, native to North America, Europe, and Western Asia. So it is a gold rush town, but it's interesting with its backstory because it's like it was a prosperous town, but it's kind of like fallen into disrepair. And so we see, not to skip ahead at all, but we do see the trains on Big Thunder. These are the only ones that look really kind of weathered and old and beat up, if you think about it. And that is because of, you know, all the earthquake and the tragedy that happened. Anyway.
I zoomed into this because I found you and then I found me. Like, you look nice in a skirt and flowy, and I have an old school camcorder and a European travel bag. This is in the,
you just need Crocs. It'll be totally you.
Well, you can't see them. You can't see them. Look, they cut off my Crocs on here, but they're there. They're there. Thunder Mesa.
It's totally us.
Concept art. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's us. That's doing our thing.
I love that. Okay, so I do have the dedication to this area, which might be a good introduction to kind of like talking about the different parts of it. The dedication plaque for this Frontierland says, "The frontier of the West was a rugged landscape of great expectations and grand illusions, where dreams rode wild and simple lives became legends. As you pass through these gates, follow the footsteps of the pioneers and dream. Welcome to Frontierland." Of course, it's in English and in French as well. Bienvenue à Frontierland.
One of my favorite parts of Frontierland is how you enter through a fort.
Yeah. Oh, it is so neat.
It's so neat.
Fort Comstock. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's right outside the fort. Before you go into the fort, you do see like a Native American camp is right there. And so that is the Shoshone Indian camp, Native American camp that you see right outside. And so the idea is that they're kind of there to trade, but they're also there a little bit of a threat, you know, because if you're thinking back in the time, you know, that would be sometimes you weren't friendly with the natives that were around. So that's kind of part of the storytelling of this Frontierland. I think I have some construction photos of this fort too, Kirk, because it's pretty neat. I have a still from it. It has like a sign that says Legends of the West. And you remember Disneyland Paris? You have to think of anything you see here. They knew that there would be people that spoke many, many, many different languages coming into this park. So everything you see is fairly simple, or it's like pictorially represented, because they wanted it to be very obvious what the thing was just by looking at it, not having to necessarily read signs to get the gist, since everybody speaks so many different languages, which is why their Pirates of the Caribbean looks like a giant fort That's like it screams pirates when you look at it. So the same thing is here. It's like there's no mistaking where you are, what's happening around you. There's no subtlety here. It's all just like in your face. Like you're going to here's the teepees, here's the fort. You're going in, and it's there.
I love it. I love all the woodwork in here because like I find that our Tom Sawyer Islands where we have Fort Langhorne just gets often overlooked because not a lot of people take the rafts. This you cannot overlook.
You can't ignore it.
You're forced to come in. And it makes sense, too, to have a walled-off outpost. It makes more sense having that rather than having your town separated by a river and having a fort all the way on the side. You know what I mean? You would want to protect the town.
Right. And, the thing is, this also is very, 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 very much a nod to the original Frontierland because this is what Disneyland has. This is you go into Frontierland by walking through a fort. There's pictures of Walt Disney sitting on the logs while they were building these, this fortress, this fort that, so this is iconic Disneyland Frontierland. And so I love that they hearkened back to the original, but they just kind of like amplified it. They made it bigger because it's only kind of a small section in Disneyland. And this one is actually a significant one that you can go and explore in. So I think it's brilliant what they did here with this fort. So they used a lot of different landscapes of the American Southwest to inspire this land. One of them was Arches National Park. You can see it there. And then they also have Monument Valley is, of course, what inspired Big Thunder itself. And then they have Yellowstone. So they have the geysers that are kind of around the other side of the Phantom Manor area. And you know what I found in there, Kirk? Look, it's not the best picture, but look, I found a dinosaur.
Where are the eggs?
I can't see them. I don't see any eggs, but it's like a dinosaur got stuck in the geyser. But it's just like the ones that are in Dinosaur Gap in Big Thunder in the U.S. parks. So, and Tokyo too. Really, like all of them. But it's interesting that it's not like in the ride itself. It's across the way, so you could see it from the ride, but it's not part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because we usually go through and past it with a water feature, and the water feature here kind of happens early.
So the geysers and hot springs near Phantom Manor. This was actually also part of I can't say this name on here. I just realized. I'm going to say John H. because I can't say his last name. So John H. concept art with canoes because we will get flagged for that.
It's just a name, Kate. Say it.
It's H-O-R.
I know what it is.
And Y. I'm going to spell it, but that's it. So John's concept art shows all of these geysers. And of course, the geysers are just a throwback to the original Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland train that was in Disneyland. So it all kind of just comes full circle. So also they had Colorado and Wyoming was just another section that says Wilderness Island came from Colorado, Wyoming area in terms of inspiration. But those are kind of the parts of the Southwest that we mostly see. Do you want to talk about the big difference of this Big Thunder? What is different about this one?
Well, this one's obvious to see. There's giant water in the way. So, when you look at all of the versions, this is the only one that has an underground tunnel and a station load that's actually completely separate. So over here where, for us Disney Worlders, this would be where Tom Sawyer Island is where the actual attraction is located. And you have a separate load station that goes into a tunnel. In fact, you can see how there is for the track layout, it's completely separate. And so you disembark, go underwater through a tunnel, go into the first lift hill, series of turns, up the second lift hill, series of turns, last lift hill, and then back exiting under the water again, which I think is just chef's kiss. Oh, especially when you're walking through this area. That's another thing that you don't necessarily can fully grasp or appreciate until you see it, because you're just staring at all the water and then Big Thunder just chilling in the background,
Yeah. Well,
you can see the trains moving. It's just gorgeous.
the thing is, Kirk, like it goes so fast through those tunnels, both in and out. It's not like like a short stroll. It's like it launches you through that thing. So you're like hurling through the dark. It's almost like combining Space Mountain with Big Thunder in that, because you're so disoriented, you can't see anything. So it's a brilliant concept to start on the mainland and then go over to this island for the actual ride. And the reason they did this was that Big Thunder, it was able to take a more prominent role in this new Frontierland because this was the first Big Thunder to actually open with a Disney park. The rest of them were always added later, but this one actually opened in 1992 with Euro Disneyland, Euro Disney. So because Big Thunder Mountain kind of eliminated Tom Sawyer Island, they decided to make Adventure Isle instead, which was a place to explore. So Tony Baxter said the other thing that transpired was that Tom Sawyer and Mark Twain are not big items in Europe. So doing Tom Sawyer Island was relatively meaningless. They're like, well, this doesn't make sense to do here for this culture this time. Like, let's just like not do that. So instead we came up with this idea of doing Adventure Isle, which is more of an international fantasy. The dream of going away to a pirate island and finding buried treasure is something that everybody's interested in no matter where they live. That allowed Big Thunder to take center stage, which it couldn't do in any other park because it was built after the center stage was completed. So it's always out at the end or a corner on the peripheral. In Paris, we were able to put it right in the middle of Frontierland, knowing that here the screams and the bells and whistles would bring an energy level to Frontierland that we really wanted. And it really is like the iconic centerpiece of this land. It is the, the weenie, if you will, and using Disney speak. Don't give me that. That's what it's called.
It's out of context. You gotta I know everybody here. What if somebody, this is their first episode. Can you explain how dogs and hot dogs is what you're referencing?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so yes. So Walt Disney used to use hot dogs, which he called weenies, to kind of like lure his dogs around, wherever he wanted them to go. And so he would call things in the park a weenie, which is basically like a visual focal point that would draw you towards something. Okay, so that's what they're called in Disney speak. It's called weenies, but you could say, you could say a lot of different terminology for it. But anything you see inside the Disney park, like, that draws your eye forward, that you want to go and explore, that you want to go towards it. Stop, Kirk. I'm trying to explain it.
It's so good until the way you phrase the last part. And don't worry, when you edit this, you'll love it.
No. Anyway, so if you think of like the hub in Magic Kingdom, and you see through the hub, you see the spinning carousel, and you're like, oh gosh, I want to go explore that. Or Disneyland, Disneyland, and like either one. And then you see, it's supposed to be Mark Twain or the Liberty Bell is what you see in Frontierland. You're like, I want to go explore that. And in Tomorrowland, it was, now it's a lot of other things, but it used to be the Moonliner, which was the thing that would draw you forward. And Kirk is losing it over there.
In my head, if you heard what I was saying in my head, you would die laughing. I'll text it to you later.
Okay. And then of course there's Adventureland, but Adventureland, there was no visual pull to draw you forward because you're supposed to go in and have an adventure. So the fact that you can't see anything and it looks mysterious was the pull itself. So that is what we're seeing here. They're absolutely employing that use of the technique from Walt Disney to pull you into Frontierland. And if you remember when you showed that footage a little bit earlier of when you walked through the fort, Big Thunder was the first thing you saw when you walked in, and it made you want to go through and explore. So there you are. There you have it.
Yep, there it is.
There it is.
That's quite the weenie.
I had to get one.
I had to get one.
We're real mature here at Distory.
It's just a joke. So yeah, it draws your eye. You want to go and ride that thing. So I get it. My face is so red right now. I'm so flushed. Oh my God. It looks like I'm sunburned. Holy cow. I feel like I'm going through menopause. Like I've got like heat flashes up in here.
So let's talk a little bit about the features. Let's go back to the map and talk about the features of this area. I have a map as well. Do you want to talk about a few things that you can find here, Kirk?
Sure. So there's lots of eateries and things here, and not all of them looked like this starting out. And you know what? I'm going to go through and do it the way that I would do it, which is like just this. It's a silly. I did this before when we were in Shanghai, where I like looking at menus of food places. So sue me. So one of the places.
Okay, well, we have to stop for some. I have things for each of the restaurants. So
okay. So can we start doing? Can we start with the Lucky Nugget?
Yep. Let's go there.
The first up is the Lucky Nugget Saloon. Lucky Nugget Saloon, which is absolutely gorgeous from the outside. And you know what? I've been thinking about this for a while. When can we change the Diamond Horseshoe in Walt Disney World into a quick service instead of just like a tag along to...
Right? Like Disneyland.
Yes.
Right?
Just make it into that so they have more seating. It's available. They don't need the overflow for... Liberty Tree. So I just don't, and it's beautiful in there, and nobody gets to see the stage or anything, you know, and it's very similar to this.
Well,
it's
that's
just
where I like to have my
underutilized.
Sundays. You know, they should
Well, that's
bring
what I'm
some
saying. If you
amazing
could
Sundays and let people sit up there.
If they made amazing Sundays and allowed you to sit inside of air conditioning up in some balconies, people would be extremely happy.
The Lucky Nugget, they did have the Lucky Nugget review here starting in 1992. Which was opening year, and then they had some variation of a show here until 1998. I do have a couple of concept art pictures for the curtain. You do see one that was there, but there was one that was done by Clem Hall before that one that was meant to be the curtain, and it really highlights all the different features of Thunder Mesa. So this was basically the iconic people and places of Thunder Mesa in its heyday. It had Diamond Lil, which is the lady, the lady of the place, and then her partner Pierre Paradis, Big Thunder, Ravenswood Mansion, Fort Comstock with its neighboring teepees from the Shoshone tribe traded with them, and basically just all the things that you would want to see. It, of course, trains and stagecoaches and all the other things. So, but they decided not to go with this one. They decided to go with the one that Kirk showed you earlier, which was developed by John H. I can't say his name. This was inspired by painters of the American West, including Thomas Hart Benton, known for vibrant depictions of everyday rural America. And at Jeff Burke's request, so Jeff Burke was the lead designer overseeing this entire Frontierland. He wanted to integrate Mexican elements into the characters as a tribute to the Spanish culture present in the history of the West, which we do see a little bit in Disneyland and whatnot, but it comes up here on this curtain as well. And also in the land of Frontierland, we'll see in a few minutes. But the interesting part is, Kirk, there is Zorro in here. Look, he's like hiding. He's up there on the building.
I'll bring it back to Walt Disney World. In Pecos Tall Tale Inn, we get Zorro's mask, but yet they can't use the term Zorro. It's just a mask.
So maybe it's like, this is just a guy that's just hiding in black.
It's not Zorro. It's just, it's Zero.
Zero. Anyway, that's the main history I have for that, except for, of course, the movie that it was based off of.
I feel like we could go in depth in all of these locations.
Oh,
so, you know, I love the history that you have behind it. I'm going to just give food because I love all the options that they have at all these restaurants. The one thing that's really cool about Disneyland Paris, they have really good menus online that show pictures of everything.
You're going to say really good food. And it was like, oh, no.
The pricing, though, is outrageous. So they have, this is mainly burgers, and then there's some ribs, and there's fish and chips. And then they do have those sundaes. So did you get a sundae when you were out there? Because some of these look pretty decent.
No, we didn't. I mean, we only ate so much. So we were only there for 3 days. So
now, the only thing that I think is actually legitimately cool that is themed, because, I mean, obviously barbecue can be themed to a sort, is this dessert right here, which is called The golden dessert. It's caramel mousse and stewed apple, but it looks like a giant golden nugget.
That actually looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't look great, but it sounds good.
No, I would eat it for one reason and one reason only, just because it's themed. And then I would be like, this stinks.
You're like, I ate a Lucky Nugget at the Lucky Nugget.
I paid $12 for this Lucky Nugget, and I hate it. But I ate it. I hate it, but I ate it.
They also have the Last Chance Cafe, which I actually don't have a picture of. But that was where the outlaws and desperados would meet up. Do you have anything for that at all?
Last Chance Cafe?
Yeah, so that's Last Chance Cafe. So
it's again,
outlaws would go.
Well, this is where we belong, Kate. We don't belong in like civilized place.
That's right.
There's another
with our comments earlier.
You know what? I didn't look up the menu on this one, but I mean, from what I gather, it's chili, fries, chicken nuggets, and giant turkey legs.
Oh yeah,
so, if that's your thing.
Legs. Mm-hmm.
That's dang, dude. Those are them Toms fry it up real.
They're dark.
There's some wings. I'm assuming that they must smoke some of the stuff here. That's the only thing I can think of. Oh, there you go. Turkey leg with barbecue flavor. Doritos and cheddar sauce. Come on, Frito Kid. Let's live the life.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool. It all comes full circle.
Wow.
Disneyland Paris. Wow.
All right.
Next up, I have Cowboy Cookout Barbecue. This one's really kind of interesting. I have a little backstory for this one. So it says, on special occasions, the folks from Thunder Mesa would all come together for a party. Everyone would meet in the large barn, bringing out some tables and chairs from their own home. Once there, they would spend the day enjoying tasty barbecue ribs, chicken, and spicy chili. And I actually do have some concept art for this barn, and I have actually a little kind of weird factoid to go with it as well. Give me just a
Who
second.
doesn't like concept art of a quick services barn and a weird factoid? Please tell us more.
Here,
I think
it's in the book.
Is it in that book?
Yeah, give me just a second.
I got us. The backstory to Cottonwood Creek. You ready?
Ooh, I'm ready.
Cottonwood Creek is a creek spanning from the rivers of the far west in the Big Thunder Mountain region of Arizona. The creek is located on the outskirts of the town of Thunder Mesa, north of the Big Thunder Islands. The creek is filled with several cottonwood trees, which serve as the region's namesake. It's unclear whether or not Cottonwood Creek is its own municipality or an extension of Thunder Mesa. So, and then the Cottonwood Creek Ranch, which is just past it, is a rural farming ranching community that would have been part of the broader Thunder Mesa area. And it suggests that it's used as a backbone for supplying food and livestock to the townsfolk and miners. However, after the 1860s earthquake of Thunder Mesa, several farmers and ranchers began to settle in the Cottonwood Creek area to get away from the spirit of Big Thunder and, of course, the earthquake and Phantom Canyon.
I love how each tiny little element of this all has a backstory. It's all themed. It's all tied in, you know? Mm-hmm. It's not just like, we'll just make a Western themed store and like call it good. It's like, this is where the community does this, you know?
Well, you know, every good community needs to have something behind it.
Okay.
Where is my...
Here, I found it.
Okay.
So here is the Cowboy Cookout Barbecue, and it's in the shape of barns from California, Oregon, and Colorado at the end of the 19th century. So the red color of barns, do you know where the red color of barns comes from, Kirk?
No, but I have a feeling you're going to tell us all.
I'm going to tell you right now. So the red color of barns comes from the fact that iron oxide was the easiest color for early farmers in the New World to make.
Oh, okay.
That's why all the barns are red.
How'd you make that?
What? What'd you say?
I said, how would you make that?
I don't know.
Okay. What is it? Iron oxide?
I didn't look that part up. I was busy doing other research. I was learning a whole bunch of things from Jeff Burke.
No. These are the questions that plague mankind. Iron oxide paint, more commonly known as rust paint, can be made using natural materials and simple techniques from the farmers. So, for example, you can take scraps of iron and steel which have rusted, like nails, tools, and you can actually add white vinegar to accelerate the rusting process, which will create more rust in the water. And then you can distill that down, collect the rust, grind the rust, and then paint it. So use this rust powder and a little bit of water to create a paste, and then you can paint it on.
Oh, I feel like we learned something today. Need some cheap paint? Get some rust.
Everyone in their house does have iron. You just go near the board that's right next to it and you grab it. And you throw it.
Oh, like an ironing board?
That's how I feel about this podcast is I am ironing board.
Oh, no.
Oh, dude, I like
Ouch.
that. That's cool, man. Now I know, like, there's certain things that I'll be able to do in the apocalypse is like,
Paint your barn.
I can paint my barn this red color.
Can we go to Casa de Coco, which used to be the Fuente del Oro restaurant?
Not yet.
No?
I got to go over the menu, dude.
Oh, I'm so
We want to see
sorry.
the food.
I know.
We want to see the food.
Fine.
These are grilled pork
I was not
sausage.
impressed with the food in Disneyland Paris, so I'm not. So just saying.
It's grilled pork sausage with Cajun seasoning or half smoked chicken. You can also get premium cheeseburgers or the sheriff's barbecue, smoked barbecue ribs, smoked chicken, pork spark. It looks great. No, it looks really bad. Can you order the kids menu things or no? Or do you get in trouble?
I mean, I think so, especially
Okay.
quick service. I don't think it
Do they?
matters.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if they do. Do they do mobile order there or no?
Yes, but it's new-ish for them, and so there's a lot of quirks to it. Like they didn't when I was there. Hopefully, it's gotten better. But when I was there, instead of like pinging you like a push notification, it would email you that your order was ready. I'm like,
They would send you a telegraph. They would send you
carrier pigeon.
There would be the Pony Express would show up with a letter, a signed document saying.
That would actually be pretty cool. Not
Would
gonna
be
lie.
It'd be like, oh dang, this is really inconvenient for most
Smoke
people.
Signals. Your order is ready. Oh gosh. All right. Now, are you ready for Casa de Coco? Can we go there now?
Yeah, which wasn't the original name, right?
No. Fuente del Oro Restaurante, I think is how you say that.
Yeah, the fountain, the gold fountain.
Yeah. So this is from Stan Jokovic from 1987, some concept art of the original building here. This paid tribute to the miners who were attracted to the gold rush from all over the world. They made the type of brick outside. It was typical of South American villages. It also includes a lot of Aztec decorations and whatnot in the decoration. That was bad. That was a sentence bad. They also included a lot of
decorations were used on the decorations for the decorations. Once more time.
I'm just going to keep saying the word decoration until you guys get it. So now, of course, it is Casa de Coco. So it's a Coco-themed restaurant, which actually was pretty good when we were there. We did enjoy the food there. But I found something, Kirk, that I thought you would really enjoy that is nearby. And look at this little guy. Look at him.
Oh, he's doing popcorn. They get
Little
popcorn pals. I love it.
So
that's so fun.
He is possibly a Spanish gauchito, possibly for Gauchito's Gil, which is the saint of the poor in Argentina. So that's as close as I can guess for him. But definitely that influence there from that culture, which is pretty neat. So I did really like the Coco restaurant. We ate there. It was like
I think it's a
brand
cool
new
overlay, you
It
know,
was a
because
brand
it's
new one,
yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, it used to look like this, and now they have it's a massive Coco overlay.
Yeah, that's real fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about the food there?
I have to talk about the food there. They've got beef, chicken, vegan, vegetarian burritos. They have, you know what? This just makes me laugh. Onion rings are called beignets d'oignons. I love that. I love that so much.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then they have, I mean, it's mainly just burritos and stuff, which is cool. Hey, I'm down with burritos. Why not? They also have some stuffed jalapeno poppers. Who would have thought?
Yeah, we all really enjoyed the food there. So, and I can't say that of every location we went to, but that one was really good. All right. I think that's all of the restaurants in Frontierland. We have either... Was there one more? Did I miss one?
Yeah, there's one more. There's
the
Silver
steakhouse.
Spur.
Mm-hmm.
Silver Spur Steakhouse.
Sorry, I forgot that one.
No, you're good. Which is very fancy. Also looks like it uses similar to the red paint, from the Red Barn. The Silver Spur Steakhouse. Don your rootin' tootin' boots and swagger into this Western-style gentleman's club where prime cuts are grilled to perfection.
So I have the backstory of this.
Well, it's a delicious mountain view steak shop. It's ridiculous.
This is where the residents of Thunder Mesa would enjoy an upscale meal. When the Disneyland Park opened its gates in what was Euro Disney in 1992, the restaurant contained some real masterpieces, like actual artwork by Edward Borean, Charles Russell, and Albert Bierstadt that had been lent by an American collector. Unfortunately, they were replaced by copies in 1994 as grease was penetrating through the glass showcases, a process which over time could have damaged the priceless originals. But it did have real artwork when the park opened in 1992, which I think is pretty neat.
Now, the only thing, this place is very expensive. So there's a quote by Walt Disney on the menu that says... Here we experience the story of our past, the colorful drama of frontier America, and the exciting days of the covered wagon and the stagecoach, the advent of the railroad, and the romantic riverboat. It is a tribute to the faith, courage, and ingenuity of the pioneers who blazed the trails across America.
I'm pretty sure that's the dedication for Frontierland in Disneyland.
Oh, cool.
I found you a wagon, Kirk.
Oh, I love wagons.
By the hotels.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I was a kid, the reason why I like wagons, I think I've told you this before. In New Jersey, where I grew up in Medford, New Jersey, they had a restaurant. It was called the Settlers Inn. Settlers Inn was the largest log cabin in North America. And inside of it had a giant stage. They had an upstairs that had all of these different shops, including an Amish shop. But down below was a full Conestoga wagon. And you can sit and eat with bench seats, and there was like a picnic table inside. So as a kid, if we went to the Settlers Inn and we ate and we got to eat in the wagon,
the best day, right?
It's the best day ever. Best day ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, sadly it burned down. However, a really popular sports bar and restaurant, PJ Willihan's, took over its place. But the Historic Society said the only way you can take over the space and have the liquor license is if you rebuild a log cabin. So build it into a giant log cabin, which I think is really cool because it's the only one of their restaurants that isn't like modern-y sports bar. It's got sports bar stuff, but it's in a giant log cabin, which is funny to me.
That is so cool.
So yeah,
can I just say, I had something similar. So do you have the old spaghetti factory out there now? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
So that started in Portland, I think. It's in Oregon. Was its original one that was down by the waterfront, I think, in Portland. And so what they had is they had like a big trolley car that they would put in it. And then if you got to sit in the trolley car and eat, that was like the best seats in the house. So that was their thing. So growing up, that was always the thing. We went to the Spag because I used to work there once upon a time. So you went to the Spag and you got to sit in the trolley car, and that was the best. So. All right. So do we want to go to the shops? Should we go to the shops?
Let's shop.
All right. So there's a couple of different shops that are here, and I don't have a ton of information on it because some of them are kind of combined into one shop. Really, the Tobias Norton and Sons shop was the first shop in Thunder Mesa. So it kind of goes back to the idea of the fur traders. You know, that era. It harkens back to that, if you will. But I don't really have any other information about that unless you do, Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also have the Bonanza Outfitters and the Eureka Mining Supplies, which is all kind of part of the Thunder Mesa Mercantile building, or mercantile, I guess, depending on how you want to pronounce that. But I have a really cool story from Pat Burke about this because this was the first store he ever developed. He said all the props had to be above merchandising, so I built a second story to house the elevator cage's steam winch and boiler. This vertical elevator shaft led to a horizontal shaft that went under the river and out to Big Thunder Island. Some of the proprietor's mineral gatherings from the Big Thunder Mountain mines can be seen on the upper shelves of the store. He wanted to make sure his staff did not sell them off while he was out fishing for more. So it's kind of got this like cool little backstory about mineral gatherings in Big Thunder mines. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Just building right here.
Yeah. And so it just like, it holds all the different stores kind of together. You can see the Bonanza Outfitters there. Yeah. So that's all I have for the shops, unless you have anything else.
Nope.
Okay. I just wanted to mention them. There's other things that are in this area. One of these things is just really cool because they have the Thunder Mesa. They have this sign that says Thunder Mesa Barbershop. Check this out, Kirk. You're going to love this. What does this remind you of?
I don't know. What is it? What should it remind me of?
Well, it says, look alive, Thunder Mesa Barbershop, shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Look at like how maniacal he looks. Does that not remind you of
like a Sweeney Todd-ish thing?
Well, like in Phantom Manor. Remember in Phantom Canyon? How they had the barbershop?
Very spooky and scary.
So and the look alive part is absolutely alluding to Phantom Manor. So it's kind of a little foreshadowing of what's going to happen over there. They have a couple of things that I don't feel like we need to go over every tiny little detail of this.
Can I show this real quick? There's
Yes,
this
please.
sign on the side of this one building on the left that says tried and true, TNT. You'll get a bang out of TNT. Blasting powders, gunpowder, and saltpeter.
Yeah. There's like a ton of tiny little details and things on the sides of buildings and whatnot. Like we could spend episodes on this area because there's so many tiny little details. But they have the Chaparral Theater. They have currently they have the Lion King Rhythms of the Pride Lands, which is located here, which we're not
that makes sense.
Do, but I know, right? They have the Disneyland Railroad Frontierland Depot is here. They have the Legends of the Wild West, a Pocahontas Indian Village, a Rustler Roundup shooting gallery, Legends of the Wild West, and then of course Phantom Manor, which we have already discussed a whole series of, and then they do have the Thunder Mesa Riverboat Landing, which I would love to pause on and talk about for just a second, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it.
Okay. So there was originally 2 boats that sailed the rivers of the West here in Euro Disney or Disneyland Paris. And one of them was the Molly Brown Sidewheeler steamer. And then the other one was the Mark Twain. So the Molly Brown was named after the unsinkable Molly Brown from the Titanic, which if we've all hopefully seen that movie by now, so don't need to. She was a survivor, that gal. So, on May 16th, 2005, Molly Brown's engine overheated, somewhat ironically, as the boat rounded the corner at the back of the reverse of the Far West. There's no visible fire, but smoke damaged the ship and her engines that rendered her immobile. So guests were ferried ashore. And then the engine system was so badly damaged that she remained out of commission basically for a long time. And then the Mark Twain had an ongoing refurbishment as its dry dock was finished. Finally, the Molly Brown moved back from dry dock in 2005. The Mark Twain finally resumed operation. But in 2010, the Molly Brown had to be rebuilt from scratch because it still was not a great situation for that. And then back in business in 2011, with a new recording in English, which used to be in French, which we saw that a lot with Phantom Manor. We saw that too, that like the languages would change throughout its history. And then the Mark Twain hasn't operated since 2011 when it came back online. So it just basically sat in dry dock and just rotted away, which is such a weird thing. But they must not have had the capacity to want to run it, is the only thing I can figure. You know?
As they say, if you don't use it, you lose it.
There are posters around town, though, that say, explore the rivers of the Far West around the Queen of the River, Molly Brown, and the majestic Mark Twain, sternwheeler, Frontierland. But the sidewheeler thing, I think, is pretty interesting. There is also some concept art for this one that shows a highlight of this ship. Where is it here? So this shows the Molly Brown. I thought you would find this one interesting after our Phantom Manor series, Kirk. because
that is so cool.
Yeah, because the foreground is basically that big oak tree that we said is very symbolic within the Phantom Manor. And then there's a noose hanging from it. Mm-hmm. And then there's Big Thunder, of course, as the highlight, but definitely Molly Brown's in the center. So, and along with that, I do want to mention that the Big Thunder Mining Company's signal light, which I think we'll see when we actually do walk through the queue later, but I want to talk about it in the context of the river. They have this really cool signal light and whistle, which looks like this.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. This is the largest exterior made light in the park, according to Pat Burke, used to warn riverboats of approaching bend and rocky curve ahead and to signal the Big Thunder Mountain foreman, Big Jack, to clear the gin pole boom for load and unloading at the ball mill dock. So the dock, I was like, okay, what's the ball mill dock? So I went on around and around. So on this map, you can actually see it. The ball mill landing is kind of near the Big Thunder Mining Company building up there. And then there's Smuggler's Cove around the river as well, and Geronimo Landing and all those other places. But the ball mill landing is specifically important because this is where, do you remember how we've been talking about in the series how Pat Burke made that
gotta be here.
crane? And you know what's, look right here, Kirk. Do you see what this is? This is Pat Burke's crane.
Oh, that's so cool. So
remember, he put it in pretty much every version of Big Thunder. And we see it here in the ball mill dock, which I think is really fun part of the storytelling there. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for that. What else do you have? I feel like we didn't go over the blacksmith shop. That's the only other thing maybe I have for this.
Yeah, the only thing I have, it's Roses, right? Is the blacksmith shop?
Lavinia Rose's blacksmith, yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen pictures of it.
I have a little bit of information from Pat Burke about this. He said, this would have been across the street in Big Thunder Mining Company's property, but the scene for this area was canceled. So Tony Baxter asked me to move it out of its scheduled location and put it across the street with the Minneapolis traction engine that also moved to complement the scene. So in this area with the blacksmith is actually a vehicle that looks like this.
Yeah, it's all the way in the back over here.
Mm-hmm. So this is a tractor they found on a farm in Missouri, which was pretty much just forgotten about by its owner, and it was restored for Disneyland Paris. So according to Pat Burke, this is a Minneapolis traction engine. Its top speed was 4 miles per hour, a whopping 4 miles per hour, Kirk.
Well, it was like pulling stuff, or a lot of times we talked about this before, you would use traction engines as mobile engines as well. So they would hook this up to other equipment. So it's not like it needed to go fast.
Right. And then it ran on wood. So that was its fuel with a chain-driven clutch and steering mechanism. It was saved from over 100 of them that were made. So there was only 100 of these in the world. And because the rest of them were destroyed back in 1909 because of a steel salvage drive for World War I.
It's so crazy how that has to happen in like all wars. Metal gets utilized everywhere. Yeah. I remember in Belgium and even in Denmark, these like great, amazing breweries during World War I dug out like in fields and buried all their like copper kettles and everything so that they wouldn't be like melted down. And then after the wars, they like unearthed them and then restarted the brewery. So.
Well, that's why we saw all of those. We talked about that in Walt Disney World's Big Thunder, how the oil containers went from tin to glass, Mm-hmm. The other thing I have about the steam tractor was that it was inspired by the 1971 Robert Altman film, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, which was the story of a gambling man and a hustling lady and the empire they fashioned from the wilderness.
And they would have gotten away if it wasn't that meddling traction engine.
But the storytelling behind this is it was used by the Big Thunder Mining Company to bring supplies to the mine and go where no train could. So that's why it's sitting next to it, essentially. So, yeah, I think that might be all I have for Frontierland. The rest of it's all kind of heading into Big Thunder and whatnot, which I don't think we want to go there quite yet.
No, I think we We leave ourselves right in front of the queue, which you actually, if we go a little bit further on from this engine, actually, I can just show it right here by panning. You go from this engine and go all the way over here to the left, and boom, bam, there she is, right there. On the left-hand side.
The queue has so many things in it, and actually some really, really fun stories that I found from Pat Burke that I can't wait to tell you guys, but it is going to have to wait till next week, unfortunately.
If only there was a podcast that would spend all that time telling queue stories.
Gee, wouldn't it be nice if that existed?
Dude, honestly, I would watch that. I would listen to it immediately.
Alrighty, well, I guess that's all we have. Shall we wrap it up?
Let's pull this train into the station.
Oh, you only have a few more times to say that.
Well, yeah. A couple more.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode of Distory. We hope you enjoyed learning about Disneyland Paris's Frontierland and the origin story of all of these different parts of it and how it's all interconnected, and just really beautiful storytelling there. Kirk, do you have any final thoughts here as we wrap up?
French onion rings are called beignets d'oignon.
And
I will never call them onion rings again. They are beignets d'oignon forever.
You should. Just like you say gondola instead of gondola.
Gondola. The beignets de...
I love it. All right. Well, I think that's it. Next week, we will be hopping into the queue and going into Big Thunder. I don't know if we'll get on the ride, how much we'll get on the ride. If we'll get on the ride, we'll just see what happens. Kirk's like, no, we're not doing it.
No, we don't do that here.
But until then, thank you so much for being with us for this entire series of Big Thunder, being along with us for this wild ride in the wilderness.
If you would have dipped your iron tools in water when we started this, you could have painted many barns. That's how long this series has taken.
Oh, hindsight, I guess. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being with us. We appreciate you guys so much for being along on the journey of Distory and learning along with us. And we will see you next time for Distory.